This is why men secretly want to marry their mommies. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Jesse Lyon, a licensed counselor who gives you the psychology behind pop culture. And a lot of stuff has been popping up on TikTok, on Instagram, and on the internet in general about the differences between men and women. I've got mixed feelings on this topic because I feel like we fall very deeply into gender roles and stereotypes and misogyny, and men are this way, women are this way. But it is interesting to notice just how much culture tells us what a man is and what a woman is, and how that influences our sexuality, our dating behavior, our romantic behavior. And there's some really interesting psychology experts who think they have the answer, but maybe I disagree. Let's find out. So, if you haven't seen Steven from the Diary of a CEO podcast, it's actually really, really great. And on that podcast, he had Dr. Gabor Mate. You may have seen him before, but he talks about why men expect women to mother them. And let's see what we think together, because maybe this will just answer all of the issues you've been having in your dating life.
There's an interesting sexual dynamic between men and women. Men very often unconsciously expect their women to mother them, to give them a mothering that they didn't fully receive as kids. And the women take on that role because they're acculturated in this society to do that. But then what happens sexually? No healthy guy wants to sleep with his mother, and no healthy woman wants to sleep with her son.
I think our dear Sigmund Freud would beg to disagree. Like, every healthy man wants to sleep with his mother. Isn't that right? Isn't that right, doctor? That's right, doctor. Of course. I want to sleep with my mother, don't you? You don't? That's just me? I mean, I was just playing a joke on you. It was a dream I had. Okay, all right. We got to lay out a premise, because I think the doctor here is coming at it from one direction, but I'm already disagreeing with what's being set up here, and I'm curious whose side you fall on. So let me know in the comments down below. And while you're there, like and subscribe to the video. It does help share valuable mental health content with those who need it most for free on YouTube. So do your part, hit subscribe, help me out, and it will help out the channel as well. Okay, here's the thing, right? I don't think anybody wants to sleep with their mother. Well, okay, listen, the world's a weird and wacky place. There are some people who want to sleep with their mother. That's a whole separate video. But I think we're making this a little bit simplistic. We learn relationships from our parents, right? When you're a child, you watch mom and dad interact, and then you watch mom and dad interact with you, right? So you see the relationship between them, and then you see the relationship between you and them. And that's why we know from research, it's really important that children have two parents. It can be male, male, female, female, man or woman, like that's fine. But it's most important from the research that they have two. Two parents is what's key, right? Now, it's key because you need to learn two different ways of operating, right? One's probably going to be a little more analytical. One's going to be a little bit more emotional. And that's important because that child needs to develop both sides of themselves, yin and yang, black and white, sun and moon kind of thing. You get what I'm saying? Key importance. Now, what he's saying is that men want women to mother them. Some men want to be lazy babies and for women to mother them, but I don't think that that's the key. What will happen is, in an unhealthy human being, they will regress to a childlike state of dependency and look to others to be their parents. Now, it's not necessarily in just the romantic relationship, though. We do this, even you do this, with social media, right? When I'm tired and stressed and anxious, I want someone to tell me what to do and to take care of me and to tuck me in bed and tell me it's going to be okay. So we turn to our phones and look for social media influencers to be our parents. We look for our bosses at our jobs to be our parents. We look for our friends to be our parents. We look for our romantic partners to be our parents. So I think that the doctor here is making it a little bit simplistic when unhealthy people will regress to a childlike state of dependency and then look for everyone to be their parent. Now, we spend a lot of time with our romantic partners, so you're going to see it the most often with your boyfriend or girlfriend looking to them to be their parent. And I certainly don't think it's just with men or women. So I kind of have an issue with the premise already that it's just a man thing or it's just a woman thing. Women can look for daddies to parent them because they're not healthy. Men can look for mommies to parent them because they're not healthy. So let me just lay that as my premise as he lays out his premise, so you can compare and contrast what you think really works for you.
So the ardor and the passion kind of drains out because of this unconscious dynamic of women mothering men and men demanding that they do. So then I become frustrated. Then who do I blame for that? I blame her, rather than looking at how do I help create this situation? All that stuff.
In an alternative perspective, right? A child blames the parents. Mommy, you're being mean to me. Daddy, you're being mean to me. And so you can see an unhealthy person regressing. Agreed. He's saying the same thing, but I don't agree with his basic premise here.
Played out in our marriage. And we've had to learn a lot from what didn't work.
In my relationship, when I was most anxious, it's also when my relationship nearly ended because, like you said, I inadvertently took it out on her because I felt that she should understand how I'm feeling and basically adapt to me.
When we're stressed, we regress and we turn our views inward. It's the sign of an adult that you can look outwards and empathize and understand another human being. Children, their world is in front of them. It's all about them. It's what's happening to them. And we label this as narcissistic. It's not. It's normal and healthy for them to do that because they need to figure out their own feelings and emotions. When we get stressed, we stop keeping space and caring for our partner and we turn our attention inward. And then we say, you're making my life frustrating. And it's like, no, they're just being a human being too. You need to hold space and love and empathize with them. That's hard to do when you're not in a healthy headspace yourself.
Exactly.
And she didn't. And so there was conflict because I felt like she was misunderstanding me.
Yeah.
And wasn't like acting in the right way to meet the needs that I had. Like she couldn't understand, and so that I think I wore her down. And then there was kind of like, as you say, that ultimatum moment where she's basically saying, listen, shall I just go?
And what you probably didn't do, and what I didn't do for a long time, is just to go to her and say, you know what, I'm feeling anxious.
That's what happened after.
Instead of owning it, we acted out.
Yeah.
And then why don't they understand us?
Yeah.
And so what we're actually demanding is that we can be children emotionally, and they be the mothers who, without any effort on our part, will understand and see us.
Oh, well said. Well said at the end. And I'm also not getting the full context. Like these podcasts that he does are like 2 hours long. So I'm certainly not getting the full context. And maybe we actually totally agree. But I'm really interested because I do hear this parroted a lot. Like, oh, men just want to marry their mommy or they just want someone to mother them. Well, yeah, there's probably elements of their mother that they want in a partner, the good ones, right? But there's also elements of their mother that they certainly do not want in their partner, right? And so I'm curious what you think. I hear this mothering dynamic in men and fathering dynamic in women, but I think it's bigger than that. And I think we have to broaden our perspective. I'll give you one last example before we wrap up this video, right? For me in my personal relationship, this is a great one. This is a real deal story. I'm very stressed at work, right? I've got a lot on my plate. A lot of things are growing. I'm anxious, Joy comes to me and she says, I just don't feel like you want to spend time with me. Or, she goes on to say, I just don't feel like I'm a priority in your life. Well, me, with my past trauma and my experiences, I always want to be performing. I always want to be good enough. I struggle with perfectionism. I struggle with people pleasing, right? And so when she says, I don't feel like I'm a priority in your life, I get very hurt, right? And so when we get hurt, we oftentimes act out in anger. And so the initial response, the very first thing that I feel is pissed because I'm like, are you kidding me? You don't feel like a priority in my life? Why do you think I'm working so hard to make a future for our family? Right? And I'm like, whoa, Jesse, that is your stuff. You did. Hold on a second. I didn't say it. I'm thinking it in my head. I'm like, whoa, Jess, you are feeling personally attacked. And that is not what Joy is trying to do to you. And so I take a moment, I take a deep breath, and I'm like, okay, let me approach this situation with curiosity. And so I ask her, I'm like, can you help me understand what you mean when you say that? Because I'm realizing I'm reacting out of my own negative feelings and my own pains and traumas, and not responding with love and understanding for what she's saying. So as we expand the conversation, she could see it in my face. She's like, are you okay? I'm like, I'm fine. I'm holding on to some of my feelings. I want to understand this. And I was like, please keep going. I want to understand you. And so she says, you spend a lot of time at work. You've got a very busy schedule, which is true. She's like, I just don't feel like I have time in your schedule. And I'm like, oh, this is not about me not being good enough for her. This is not a criticism that she's trying to level against me. She's just saying, hey, I would like some dedicated time in your schedule that I know you're not going to be distracted by your phone. You're not going to be distracted by work and clients, that it'll just be for us. That's a super reasonable request. And in fact, it shows how much she loves me, that she wants to spend some time with me in my life. But because I was so anxious and so stressed, I reacted out of my past trauma and baggage, not out of actual empathy for what she was feeling. And so now that I understand better, I said, wow, that's super reasonable. I tell you what, Friday nights at this time and Monday nights at this time, those will be 2 moments in my schedule. Everything stops, full halt. It's just for us to be together, to play a board game, to talk, to watch a movie, to have some food together. How does that sound? She's like, that would be amazing. A simple request that I turned into a big deal because of my stress and my trauma. The deep breath and the recognizing, hey, I need to approach this with curiosity, not with frustration and vindictiveness and anger, was a huge key for us in continuing to see our relationship. Do you have a similar experience? What do you think? Is it more of a mommy daddy thing, or do you think it's just unhealthy people regress to being children when they're unhealthy? I'd love to know your comments down below. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.